biggest thing with Matthew is his heart. He had the biggest heart. He was a really easy baby, an easy, carefree kid. We played a lot of sports together. I coached him for 3 years in youth football. And when he went back to soccer, that was kind of the best time for me because I got to step away and just watch him blossom.
I like Jennifer Lawrence. I met her. I like painting and drawing and Instagramming.
You don't get it all, the enormity of the job. I mean, you're responsible for 400 kids and 50, 60 staff members.
I would get up, eat breakfast, and then my mom would take me to school. And I was walking to class, and my heart started racing in the hallway. And I walked into class, and I got dizzy. And I saw spots everywhere. And then I fell, and then everything just went black.
Typical normal day, he and Kim went to work, and then he and Kim went to practice. Right when Joseph and I got home is when I got the call from Kim, and they were doing conditioning. And on his last sprint, as he was finishing his last sprint, he collapsed. And when he went down, they thought he was having a seizure, and he was, having problems breathing, which again is, we all know is the classic signs of a sudden cardiac arrest.
What I walked into was, there was a teacher in there, Mr. White, and he was taking her pulse. He just said she doesn't have a heartbeat. And I just leaned down and I turned my ear, because you're supposed to listen. I wanted to hear her breathe. I wanted to feel something on my face, like the hair move or something. And it didn't. Because I had taken CPR training so many times, like it was just automatic. You do what you're trained to do. She just started crying. She just cried. And it was like that minute you wait for your baby to cry. Like, she just started crying.
They were trying to get the trainer. They were calling 911. A physician who's a friend of ours and whose son was on the team was in the parking lot. He came over and started doing CPR on Matthew. The ambulance was on scene in about 12 minutes after. And that's when he received his initial shock. I finally got to see Kim when she got to the hospital, and I'm just walking back and forth giving her updates as they're working on Matthew. And I knew as the minutes passed it wasn't going to be good, but I'm trying to stay positive for Kim. And after about 18 minutes, the physician turned around and looked at me and said, there's nothing more we can do. I remember my dad walking into the hospital that night, and the first thing he asked me was, where was the AED? And I said, I don't know. And there were 5 AEDs there that night, and not one was brought to him.
I'll be all right. That whole thing of this can never happen to young people, it does. And it's important that we have the preparations for that, because you never know when something like this will happen. And you want to be ready for it. You want to know that you did the thinking and made the strides to help ensure that that person will survive and go on to lead a normal life.
It's about having a plan. And the more people you have that know how to do that, you're increasing the likelihood of a good outcome.
The reason why CERPs, or cardiac emergency response plans, are essential is because in that time of need, you only have one shot to save a life, and therefore you need to be prepared to act. I want people to hear our story because it makes people recognize that, even though the worst case scenario happened with us, hopefully because of what I'm doing and what Kim's doing is going to make a difference in another child's life. He was an old soul. I would say, look, you only have one shot at life, and you got to make sure that you use the most of what time you have on this earth to be a positive impact to people.
What if she hadn't been taught CPR, right?
Wouldn't be here. Well, you can't take life for granted. You only live once. I feel like I got two opportunities.